In the fierce and unforgiving battles of World War II, not every warship was destined to dominate. Some destroyers took to the seas burdened by design flaws, limited firepower, or crippling vulnerabilities that would challenge their crews to the breaking point. The Fubuki class revolutionized destroyer design in the 1930s as the first to mount heavy dual-purpose 5-inch guns in enclosed turrets, providing faster firing and better crew protection than open mounts. Its famous Type 93 Long Lance torpedoes, unmatched in range and power, gave it exceptional striking ability against both ships and aircraft, making it a formidable multi-role vessel. With top speeds near 35 knots, it could keep pace with fast fleets, execute quick torpedo attacks, and evade enemies, though added weight from upgrades hurt stability and slightly reduced speed, leaving it not quite the fastest among peers. The class offered a practical range of about 4,000 nautical miles at 14 knots, balancing efficiency and endurance for long Pacific patrols without frequent refueling. Early units, however, faced serious stability issues from weight-saving designs and top-heavy structures, requiring costly retrofits. Their anti-submarine warfare capacity was minimal, limited to a few depth charges and lacking advanced sonar, leaving them poorly suited to counter submarine threats. Cramped interiors also restricted upgrades to AA guns and sonar, limiting adaptability as warfare evolved. Later subclasses addressed some flaws, but early Fubukis were less versatile. Overall, they scored 32, combining groundbreaking weapons, speed and endurance, but hampered by stability flaws, weak ASW, and restricted upgrade potential in a rapidly changing naval war. The Hunt class was designed primarily as an escort destroyer, focusing on convoy protection rather than offensive firepower. Armed with just 4 4-inch guns, it had lighter armament compared to the typical 5-inch guns on fleet destroyers and notably lacked torpedo tubes, which severely limited its ability to threaten enemy surface ships. Its anti-aircraft armament was also modest by wartime standards, meaning the Hunt class relied on numbers and escort tactics rather than firepower to defend convoys. Speed was deliberately limited to about 28 knots to favor fuel economy and stability, sufficient for escort duties but inadequate for fleet actions or escaping faster enemy vessels. Its operational range of roughly 2,350 nautical miles at an economical cruising speed near 20 knots suited escort missions in nearby waters but limited longer independent fleet operations, with fuel capacity constraining sustained long-range deployment. Stability was a key strength for the Hunt class. Its compact, robust hull provided a stable weapons platform and excellent handling in rough seas, especially in the North Sea and Atlantic. This stability helped maintain effectiveness during anti-submarine and anti-aircraft operations, central to the escort role. The Hunt class excelled in anti-submarine warfare, equipped with sonar and adequate depth charge gear to detect and attack submarines threatening convoys. Its stability and maneuverability enhanced ASW capabilities, making it a highly competent submarine hunter despite lighter offensive armament. Designed for convoy escort, the Hunt class had limited versatility. Its smaller size and light armament made it less suited for fleet combat or diverse naval tasks. Upgrade potential was minimal and focused primarily on ASW and anti-aircraft improvements, restricting adaptability to evolving mission requirements. Scoring 29 overall, the British Hunt class Type 1 destroyers were effective convoy escorts with notable strength and stability and ASW, but were constrained by lighter armament, moderate speed, and limited upgrade options. This made them less flexible for broader wartime naval roles. The Soldati class mounted 5 120mm guns, which appeared effective on paper, but were undermined by outdated fire control and inefficient gunnery, leaving them less accurate and slower firing than Allied destroyers. Minimal anti-aircraft defenses further weakened survivability, while torpedo armament was a lower priority and lacked strong technological support. With top speeds of 34 to 39 knots depending on subclass, they equaled most Allied destroyers in velocity, using speed to engage or evade. However, endurance was poor, limited to about 2,200 nautical miles at 14 knots, forcing frequent refueling and restricting long-range missions in the Mediterranean. Stability and seaworthiness were notable weaknesses, as top weight and a slender hull reduced effectiveness in rough seas and complicated wartime upgrades. Anti-submarine warfare was minimal, with limited sonar and a few depth charges, reflecting Italian doctrine's focus on surface battles over submarine defense. This left them vulnerable in convoy or fleet protection. Designed mainly for surface combat, the Soldati class lacked versatility. Fixed armament, cramped internal space, and stability issues limited improvements to AA and ASW weaponry, hastening obsolescence as threats evolved. Scoring 22 overall, they showed excellent speed, but were hindered by weak gunnery, short range, poor stability, and minimal adaptability. The Mogador-class destroyers carried powerful 138mm guns for surface combat, but poor elevation and slow traverse limited effectiveness against fast air and surface targets. Weak anti-aircraft defenses and unreliable fire control further reduced their practical value, leaving a gap between heavy armament and real combat performance. Among the fastest destroyers of World War II, they could exceed 43 knots, enabling them to outrun threats and pursue enemies. But this came at the cost of short range and poor stability. With less than 2,000 nautical miles at 15 knots, limited fuel capacity and inefficiency severely restricted endurance and operations. Despite their size, the class suffered from some of the worst stability problems of any World War II destroyer. A high superstructure and limited ballast made them poorly handled, especially at high speed or in rough seas, undermining combat capability and safety. Anti-submarine warfare was almost non-existent, with no sonar and only a few depth charges, leaving them highly vulnerable when operating without support. Heavily optimized for speed and guns, the design left little space for upgrades, while stability issues further restricted modifications. With minimal AA and ASW improvements during the war, the class lacked adaptability. Scoring 21 overall, the Mogador stood out for extreme speed, but was undermined by poor endurance, weak defenses, and limited flexibility, showing the risks of over-specialized design. The Narvik-class destroyers carried unusually large 150mm guns, giving them heavier firepower than most destroyers with 120 to 130mm weapons. In practice, these guns were slow-firing, mechanically complex, and unreliable, with their weight worsening stability problems. Torpedo and anti-aircraft weapons were weaker and less flexible than Allied equivalents, limiting operational capability despite the impressive gun size. Nominal speeds of 36 knots were rarely achieved due to inefficient, unreliable propulsion systems, with constant mechanical issues reducing performance. Their range of 1,800 to 2,000 nautical miles was curtailed by poor fuel economy, restricting mission duration. Stability was a major flaw. Top-heavy design and uneven weight distribution made them difficult to handle in rough seas, hurting accuracy and endurance. Anti-submarine warfare was minimal, relying only on basic hydrophones and a few depth charges, leaving them vulnerable to Allied submarines. Complex, unreliable systems also hindered upgrades, with little scope for stronger AA or ASW defenses. Overall, the German Type 1936A Narvik destroyers embodied ambition outweighed by flaws. Their intimidating guns were offset by mechanical failures, limited range and speed, poor stability, and weak ASW, making them the most compromised destroyers in this list. The journey through these 5 destroyer classes shows how innovation and harsh realities collided in World War II naval warfare. They remind us that speed, firepower, and endurance alone don't guarantee success. Thank you for watching, and please support my work by subscribing and purchasing my ebooks. You can find the links in my bio description or by searching for Adrian Langsford on Amazon.